At just 19 years old, Jadon Sancho broke through into the first team of Dortmund, scoring hat-tricks, becoming Bundesliga Player of the Month, and playing against some of the biggest teams in the world. And now, at just 25 years old though, rumour has it that Chelsea's considering paying United £5 million just to return the winger back to Old Trafford. But how has it come to this, and what is actually going on? Let's go back and analyse everything. The year is 2019 and Sancho was lighting up the Bundesliga, scoring and assisting 17 times within 32 games, which was just ridiculous at the time for a 19-year-old, having Bayern Munich licking their lips to steal another promising Bundesliga talent. But it wasn't just in the Bundesliga that he was scoring, he even hit the back of the net against Barcelona, even though they lost that game, and earned an assist against Inter Milan in the group stages, putting Dortmund through to the last 16. Sancho was just a full package post. Being able to play on the right and left wing, or as an attacking midfielder, it really didn't matter. He was goal hungry, looking like he was going to be the next big thing. Pause. Having not been the first teenager to break through at the club, as you can see in my previous video, people knew it was just a matter of time though before the Englishman would join a team for a ridiculous fee and become the main attraction. But now it was 2020. Everybody was wearing a face mask and barely making ends meet due to a worldwide pandemic, and United stepped forward looking to sign the new football promise. But United should have checked his price tag first though, as Dortmund was asking for a whopping 120 million euros for the player, which at the time would have instantly broken the record for the most expensive Premier League transfer in history. United was going back and forth with the club, but in the end they didn't meet Dortmund's deadline and Sancho stayed in Germany for the next year. But after a slight dip in form and suffering from an injury during the season, Sancho returned to playing top tier football, receiving nothing but praise and being viewed as the best 21-year-old footballer at the time. And then, after finishing third in the division with BVB, 10 days before the Euro 2020 kickoff, the news broke.
It's happened.
Jadon Sancho is officially a Manchester United player.
The deal is worth £73 million.
And I just feel happy to say those words.
But this is the point where fans claim the United curse came into full effect. Even though Sancho was called up for England to partake in the Euros, he never really got a chance to play, except a game against Ukraine. And also, of course, when he was subbed in the 120th minute in the final against Italy to take a penalty, which ultimately led to heartbreak and racist abuse. And well, as you can imagine, that really wasn't the greatest experience to endure right before the Premier League kickoff. And it was visible. Sancho didn't even perform close to what was expected of him, and there were only glimpses of the Sancho that we had witnessed in the Bundesliga, terrorising defenders and goalkeepers. And to make matters worse, Sancho had a family bereavement to attend, missing 2 games, and with his form dipping, so did his chances in representing the 3 lines in guitar, which ultimately was the case, with players like Saka, Rashford, Sterling, Foden taking the attacker's place. But now, please remember, Sancho was still only 22 years old at the time, with so much pressure on his shoulder, even though he got off to a flying start by scoring 3 goals in 8 games under the new management of Erik Ten Hag. Deep down, Sancho seemed to be struggling with something else. And in December 2022, without the player's permission, Ten Hag discussed Sancho's mental health struggles, stating that this is the factor why he hadn't been considered for selection at the time and was sent to Holland to work on his mental and physical well-being with coaches that were trusted by Ten Hag. But even though Ten Hag that he claimed that they were trying to bring him back as soon as possible, there was no real set date for his return. Sounds like a good guy, this manager, right? Well, even though Sancho did perform slightly better upon his return to Manchester, he never played as good as one would expect the next big thing to play. But now, the big. After a decent preseason and being subbed on in the first 3 games of the season, it all kicked off. Sancho had surprisingly not been selected in the squad to face Arsenal, and after losing the game 3-1 at the Emirates, Ten Hag was questioned in the press why he had dropped the ex-Borussian. And in classy fashion, Ten Hag responded, "Because of his performance in training, we didn't select him. You have to reach a level every day at Manchester United." And honestly, that is just so poor from Ten Hag. That guy was a stinker and a thrower player who had been suffering with mental health issues and had deleted his Instagram only just a few months ago to cope with life. Just under the bus like that is foul behavior. However, Sancho responded almost immediately on his reactivated Instagram, stating, "I will not allow people saying things that is completely untrue. I have conducted myself very well in training this week. I believe there are other reasons for this that I won't go into. I've been a scapegoat for a long time, which isn't fair." And now a proper standoff was on. Ten Hag was demanding a public apology for challenging his authority, but despite the pleas from staff and teammates, Sancho was silent. And as a result, he was not only banished from playing for United, but also from training with them, and was forced to train with academy players. But Sancho believed he did train hard and was giving his best. However, if he did end up apologising, he would be admitting that Ten Hag's statements were true, and he didn't want to go back on his word. So let's fast forward now to January. Still, no apology, and with no games in 4 months. So Sancho starts looking to leave. Talks with Dortmund emerge, and boom, Sancho returns to Dortmund on loan, stating that it will be the ideal environment to find his best form again, which he didn't. But he definitely performed better than he ever did for United, that's for sure. He may not have scored an extraordinary amount of goals or reached an extraordinary amount of assists, but he definitely helped the team and seemed to look comfortable while playing, and even reached the Champions League final with his teammates, even though he should have returned to United on that exact date. But didn't really make much of a difference as they lost to Bayern Munich in Wembley. Now, having left BVB, he posted a goodbye statement on his Instagram, appreciating the team's efforts. But only a few weeks later, Jadon Sancho had signed for Chelsea on loan, with an obligation to buy if the Blues finished above 15th, which is kind of like a small request, for 29 million euros. And this was his farewell post for United. And I mean, at this point, fans just turned on him, started hating on his performances and on the fact that he had robbed the club, having been earning so much money, yet he'd just been sitting in his house gaming FIFA half the time. Now, in the first half of the season, it seemed like he returned to his baller days, earning 4 assists in the first 4 games under Maresca and putting in some vital performances for the club, generating 2 goals and 5 assists, with Chelsea fans thinking they will have gotten away with a bargain here. But in January, things started to slow down again, and Sancho's form took a massive dip, scoring only 1 more goal in the league and commenting freedom on Rashford's first post representing his loan club Aston Villa for the first time. Now, towards the end of the season, with no improvement in sight, many fans have pointed out that there is a possibility to override the obligation to buy Sancho and pay United a €6 million fee, where he would need to return to Manchester. But anyways, that leaves us with today. Before the Conference League final, Maresca had told reporters that there still has been no decision on Sancho's future, and that it will be discussed later on. Now, having scored in the Conference League final though, Maresca might just change his mind. According to rumours though, Sancho would be happy to leave the Blues, having apparently submitted a transfer request back to Dortmund. This wouldn't be the first time he tried to return. Apparently, before he headed back to Manchester, Sancho wanted to stay in Germany on a permanent basis. But it came to a halt real quick. After hearing United's demands of €40 million, BVB claimed that it was an insurmountable fee for the winger. But even though BVB is his desired destination, Bayer Leverkusen have also stated that they would happily take him in. With the possibility of big players leaving for big money this window, money shouldn't really be a problem. there's just one small problem. Xabi Alonso is now the head coach of Madrid, and his replacement? This guy. So I believe Sancho will swerve Leverkusen's offer and pray that Dortmund will take him back. But what do you think? Do you think Dortmund should take back Sancho for the third time? Or do you think he should try his luck somewhere else? Let me know in the comments, and I'd be interested to hear your thoughts and other comments that I may have missed in this video. Thank you very much for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. See you in the next one. Bye.